Welcome to Keep On Pushing TV. I am your host, Devon Harris. And yeah, you know what we do here, right? We share ideas and insights that are going to challenge you and inspire you to keep on pushing and live your absolute best life. So if that's something you're interested in, even remotely, you know you're definitely in the right place. So again, welcome to Keep On Pushing TV. You know, we're always working on bringing you some amazing guests with incredible stories and inspiring ideas to help you live your best life. Today's guest is an amazing person personally and just incredible professionally. I am fascinated by her work. She's a hacker. And I know when you hear the term hacker, you're thinking computer hacker. No, she is a human hacker, right? She is a human behavior hacker. She believes you can understand people by simply looking on how they behave, and is in fact the only expert in the world working in all channels of communication: face reading, personality assessments, micro expressions, body language, the deception detection, statement analysis, and forensic, and all the different things that deal with movement and pattern analysis. She has been hacking people now for over 27 years and is a founder of the Human Behavior Lab and has worked with a wide range of entities, including the military, law enforcement, political campaigns, and private companies. So I am excited, really thrilled to welcome to the show Susan Ibitz. Susan, welcome to Keep On Pushing.
I have the feeling that I should walk away. You did the show for me. I don't know. I'm trying to look for the person you was introducing.
Well, you know, if you have a mirror, just hold it up and you'll see exactly who I'm talking about. I'm so excited to have you here.
It's weird when I hear people talking about what I have done and what I know. It have this, we talk about imposter syndrome, like you always pushing harder, you always studying more, you always find a new book to read, you always find a new class to take, you always find another person to interact and learn from. But other people look at you like, wow. And for me, it's like, I don't know how to do my taxes. I always need to ask for an extension. For me, that is a gift. Do you know how to do numbers? I don't know how to do numbers.
Right.
You can fix my car so I can drive to the city. That is a gift that I need from you. So I see it the same way.
Well, that, you know, and you're absolutely right, though. But I think all of us have our paths, right? And I think people are more accustomed to the accountant who can do the taxes, or the mechanic who can you know, fix your car, or even the computer hacker who is going to mess up life for you. But a human hacker, that is something different. So tell us about that. What is that? What do you do?
Well, I always say I'm a human behavior hacker. Some people hack computers. I hack humans, and I enjoy it tremendously. So whoever can go to humanbehaviorlab.com are going to see some call reading of testimonials. And again, when I was asking for testimonials for the new website, I started reading the testimonials. So some of them like make me drop a tear, because like, wow, you get to people. You really get to people, because when you do it, what I do, people is afraid like, oh, that is manipulation. No, I teach you how to better communicate. If I sell you a car and you choose to drive and drink, that's your responsibility. Mm-hmm. So with superpowers come in high responsibilities, and I'm a geeky, so I obviously use Spider-Man to that. But what I do is I teach you how to everything that is already coded in your brain can be utilized. I reorganize the library in your brain, because it's funny to say, because people do not get it. Everybody's a face reader. Everybody can understand microexpression, body language, statement analysis, personality types. We don't know why, but you never have that gut that you go to a place and you feel fear, or you don't like someone and like, I cannot explain it. Well, that is your sixth sense. People call it third eye, sixth
Mm-hmm.
sense, your guts, however you want to put it, what is your dictionary, welcome. But people who is born blind and people who is not born blind, they have the same micro expressions and body language expressions when they express happiness, loss, or they want to communicate with others. Actually, we even develop, our twins develop their own language. They're only they understand.
Mm-hmm.
So people can learn those things. People sometimes is afraid because it's afraid what they're gonna be seen in others, and other people is afraid to be seen. So I would say those are the more complicated part. For most part of my life, people is fascinated, and the majority says, I want to learn more.
Right.
Actually, I was telling you, we were doing more training and working more in the last 2 months than we have in the last year, because the new reality moved that everyone need to be in Zoom meetings. Everybody need to go back to expose themselves. So it's a body language for video, not only yours to read the others. It's a micro expression thing that you need to take care of, because maybe you didn't even know that you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
How to connect with others, how to know when somebody's audit, kinetic or visual. What is the relationship with the face? What are the words that you need to use? How to need to set meetings? For example, 90% of the people who make decisions, they don't take all calling, but 59% of the people want to see a video. Now, what you put on that video is as important as the content, and the second thing is the sound you put. So when you're a salesperson, when you're going to get to people, when you're going to send the message, you need to know how to put the right message. So first of all, I teach you how you are. I record in you and I show you what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes people react to your actions. It's not they're acting, they're reacting to you. And some people is not even aware. I have a podcast 3 weeks ago, and one of the guys who was interviewing me says, why people is always pissed off with me? Because you make a career pissing people off, because certain
Yeah.
features in your face are kind of
I want to
aggressive.
dive into that a little bit more, Susan. But I like to go back to the beginning. I want to understand the journey. So tell us a little bit about your early life, your childhood, how you grew up.
I was born and raised in South America. My parents were diplomats, and we were four, two girls and two boys. And my dad have this concept, and I really appreciated that. It's not about the quantity time, it's a quality time. So my dad and I, our quality time was Sundays watching Colombo, The Godfather, and all those movies that
Mm-hmm.
not in the United States would have been proper for a 5 to 6 years old kid, but I was fascinated, and my dad, instead to push me out, taught me and walked with me through what are those things and what happened. So I always was wearing myself on like, I'm superhero, I want to have a superpower, and I grab all the cloth that my mom have iron and plaster on the drawers, and I put it in my neck, and I have the drainer, and I put foil on top, and I put antennas. I'm like, I can read you.
Right.
Thank God my parents doesn't have any picture of that on the age of my life.
I
But I,
think those would probably sell for a lot of money on eBay today.
no, believe me, I was a tomboy. Like I
Right.
have scars all over my body. And the reason I use short hair is because my mom was tired to dealing with me. And when I was 7, like she cut my hair, never changed it. I'm
Right.
48. Since I'm 7 years old, I have short hair. She was pissed off with me. So when I was getting on my teens and I need to decide a career, researching, I found out that the superpower that I want to have is called science, the science of human behavior and psychology.
Mm-hmm.
So like every person who want to follow the path, I went to college to do my master and my PhD in profiling, because I want to work for the FBI, CIA. I want to be the best profiler in the world. And reality hit me when I get to college. And after failing for 6 months in all my papers, one of my teachers says, your IQ is higher. Actually, I finished high school 1.5 years early than anybody else,
Mm-hmm.
because I was ahead of my class. So I start college early. So 6 months after college, I'm like, you're failing in all the papers. Like, I don't understand. Well, in high school, you didn't need to write. You need to present. And where I was educated, you need to talk. The working and how you express yourself, not how you write papers. But in the university, I needed to do it. So he sent me to be evaluated, and they found out I'm highly, highly dyslexic. But being highly dyslexic with high IQ, I compensate all the time. So I went back to talk to my teacher, and he says, well, the career path that you choose is not going to happen. And if it's happened, you're going to graduate when you're 50. So what are the chances on? So my dad always says, it's so many ways to go to Rome. You can walk, you can ride a bike, you can take the train, a bus, or fly. So you want to go to Rome, choose your own path. And when I recouped from the shock, then everything that I dream about is not going to happen. I start looking for my path, and I start looking for the best of what I want to do. I did my own career. So I study with everyone. Some people I need to follow them for 2 years until they find me worth of their training. I have people who for 3 years I asked to be trained on or accept in a training. And because they don't train civilians, they make me wait for it. And I never give up. I was writing emails to them or calling them every 2 weeks. I'm here. I'm not going to give up. I want to be in your class.
Right.
And they took me. And most of them says, I took you not because you have the qualification to be on the class. It's because I never saw somebody so persistent to keep going. And that's the way I came to the United States.
I want really good point. But I want to ask you about your dyslexia, because this is not something that came out when you're in elementary school because you presented, but you get to university and now it's discovered that you're highly dyslexic. How do you deal with that? Because there's so many young people, older people too, but let's focus on the ones who are kind of getting through schools and getting in life. What advice would you have for them as well? Because I gather that dyslexia is not something that you ever get over.
Oh, no, never is going to happen. I have two kinds of dyslexia. I have the spatial dyslexia, meaning that I calculate the space the wrong way. For example, I cannot drive shift car. I have a really nice sport car shift. I took it for, I drive it for 3 weeks and says, I'm going to kill someone. Take it back.
Right.
And like, what? I take it back. I cannot drive shift. So I bump against things. I have scars and bruises all over my body. I know all that I get, worse I am. One of the reasons I don't cut my own grass is because I'm afraid I'm going to cut one of my toes. Like, that's how horrible I am. The other dyslexia that I have is between my brain and the white paper is a disconnection. So if I talk to you, if I need to give a class to you, I'm going to blow it away. But if I need to write a white paper, I don't know what to start. The words start jumping in my head. Actually, when I write emails, I write an email, I wait an hour, and I review it again because I'm sure I says, was nice to meet you, was meet you. I forgot to put the word nice.
Right.
So I don't connect words. Words, I see them in my head, and at some time I read it, and I don't see the mistake because my brain tricked me. So the knowledge is there. I was called disabled for many years. I remember that years later, I realized that he did a mistake, so I put a complaint. He says, well, I have two news for you, the person who diagnosed me. Well, the bad news is you are highly dyslexic, but the good news, you're hot. So you probably, if you are good choosing a husband, you're going to have a good life. I'm like, what?
Right.
I'm not disabled. I'm not going to be accepted to be disabled. So today is still, I need to read books 7 to 8 times. I listen to one audiobook a day. I have one of the biggest libraries related to my field. And if you ask me to any topic, I'm going to even remember what is the chapter. But not because I'm a genius, it's because I apply myself to never be put in a box. I've been asked for friends who have Asperger's syndrome, or they're related to, people is related to have, they're autistic. The
Mm-hmm.
problem with those autistic people is that they're raw. They don't know how to read other people's expressions, but you can read them. And I have friends who work in behavioral analysis who work with autistic kids to show them how to do it. So I think that, and I follow sometimes people who have born without arms, or people who have born blind, and they are conquer, like Luke Hopkins, like all these people who have done so much and they were told they're not going to be made it. I
Mm-hmm.
think it was Einstein who was sent home with a note saying to the mom, I would advise you not to send him at school anymore because he is retarded, is not going to make it. No, he was so intelligent, he get bored and nobody can put up with him. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
comparing to myself to Einstein. What I'm saying is when you tell a kid they cannot do it, they're going to find out like ended up giving up, because when you hear no so much, you ended up believing on that. When I have amazing parents who kick up my butt every time and like, every time says, I cannot do it. Like, I'm sorry. You says,
Mm-hmm.
what? No, you're not my daughter. Come on, go back again. Go back again. Go back
So
again.
I guess the lesson here, though, is regardless of who you are, and it's obviously easier when you're older versus being a kid, is not to allow ourselves to be put in a box no matter what the circumstances.
I remember coming back from school and crying, and my dad says, I don't hear you crying loud enough. Come on, keep crying. And I get so mad when he says me that. Then I stop crying and says, okay, I'm going to go back and do it. Again, my parents weren't Orthodox. He was a diplomat and he was a painter. My mom was a stewardess and she was a special kid, 8 teacher. And I think that was special
Mm-hmm.
too because she helped me in that way. So all of us are independent. I'm the only dyslexic on the family, but everybody have a conquer independent careers, being successful in what we do. And my dad died last year when he was 89. And I don't remember seeing my dad ever taking notes, because it's the day this machine is messed up, make sure to disconnect my tubes because I don't want to leave anymore. He had a studio, and I remember going to the studio, smell the smell of the books, and from the floor to the roof, all the walls have all these old books. And I remember he's sitting in his couch. You only see books and a couch and a
Right.
lamp and a little table when he had his whiskey or scotch. And he sat on Friday nights, and we know that is going to disappear until Sunday because he read from Friday night until Sunday morning.
Wow.
That was his
Yeah.
weekend and his passion.
I
So
read something, Susan, that your parents met on a plane ride, on a commercial plane ride, and by the end of that flight, your dad had proposed to your mom.
where did you read that? I haven't told this story so long.
I have my sources.
Oh my God. Well, my mom was a stewardess on first class. My dad was on the plane. He was one of the passengers because at that point he was a diplomat. I get all blush. I can see myself blush. So my dad saw my mom and like, oh my God, I love this woman. And my dad was divorced. My 2 older brothers and sister are from the first marriage, but they live with us all the time. And actually my sister is my best friend, and my oldest brother is my highest critics. And I love them for that. So I never see yours, mine's, and whatever. So my mom came to my dad and says, how can I serve you? Will you marry me? And my mom says, sir, really, what do you want to drink? Champagne in our wedding. And my dad never gave up. And he kept going and going and going to the point that my mom was transferred to coach and somebody else came to, and my dad transferred to coach to keep talking to my mom.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So at the end, police was waiting for my dad downstairs. And they take him like, sir, you need to come with us. Like, nope. So they took it inside. We didn't have 9/11. We didn't have, we need to remember there was like 50 something years ago. So nobody think that's not anything wrong is going to happen. And it was in South America. So my dad went inside, grabbed, I don't remember the story, that if he grabbed a chocolate and make a ring, or he bought a ring, a plastic ring, something, and a bunch of flowers, and when my mom was walking, he was on a knee and says, "Will you marry me?" And my mom says, "I will if you shut up." You know what? 45 days later, they got married and they were together for more than 50 years until my dad died.
Amazing story. So is that where you got that persistent gene from?
No, I think my dad was crazy. And I love that.
Right.
I don't like normal people. And by the way, what is the concept of normal? So yeah, they were different. They were specials. I got exposed to people that most kids wouldn't have been exposed, like artists, poets, people who is different and weird, and they write poetry and they think outside the box. So I never was in a box. My dad never allowed us to be in a box. As soon as we get to the box, you slap it on the head, like, what are you doing? You don't want to be normal. You want to be different. And still today, like, none of us is normal. Thank God.
But you have, how many certifications do you have, Susan?
Oh God.
Have you lost count?
I'm doing 3 more this year. So
wow.
I have 3 certifications in hostage negotiator, and 1 is international. I have a certification from Harvard Law School in negotiation. I have a Berkeley for face reading. I have 6 certification in face reading. I have 2 in statement analysis, forensic analysis. I'm a Myers-Briggs, Killian, and about to get certified in curiosity factor, but I haven't done yet. I'm gonna get certified in MPI, still doing it. There are only 2 people certified around the world. I'm gonna be the number 23. I'm gonna be in Chicago, so I'm gonna be the new Michael Jordan. Actually, actually one of my friends already gave me the Michael Jordan T-shirt who says on the back, MPA certified. So I think I'm on around 50 something. I think I'm gonna hit the number 60 at the end of the year. And I have the honor to be called and confirmed. I didn't apply. That's what freaking me out. I never applied to. They called me and says, you have been chosen to be on the hostage negotiation conference in October in Texas. And the funny part, when they call me and says, oh, we want you, like, okay, when you want, no, you're going to be the closing. You're going to be closing the hostage negotiation as a civilian. I was running my house back and forth on the stairs, and the guy says, are you okay? Like, no, I'm freaking out. This is the cherry of my career because, again, sometimes you get to Rome in a different way.
Yeah.
And that conference is going to be CIA, FBI, SWAT, hostage negotiation, police. And I'm going to be talking about this witchcraft that I do when 28 years ago, I need to give up on that dream. And the fun part, again, I didn't apply. They choose me because amazing people that I've been teaching and working with believe in me and says, we want you there. We want to go to the next level. We want to learn another way to communicate with people because maybe we can do it in another private hostage negotiation has to do with saving people and avoid people to commit suicide. And both are compromised in the same way. So whatever they can learn to help and protect, they're going to do it. But they calling me with all the people around the world.
The only civilian who has ever been given that honor, correct?
If you know what, I'm doing the research because I don't want to mislead, but until now, civilians who have done it, there are teachers or they're part of the association or they're psychologists or psychiatrists, but I don't have any degree. I'm not part of the force. I never have been done. I've been training people on the force, but now it's like I belong to the guys. Now we're going to go drinking together. I'm one of the guys. Like, happy
56,
ending.
almost 60 certifications, and you don't have a degree. Why is that?
Because I went to college and I failed. I tried to do it again when I was in my mid-20s, thinking that maybe my maturity is going to compensate my dyslexia, and I couldn't. And 5 years ago, I was studying with Paul Ekman International in London and for 5 days. And one of the teachers was part of this new program in London, in Manchester, about master in behavioral. So after the class, always was a pain on the neck, in the front, middle, asking question, why? And every time they talk about a book, like, oh, chapter 7 from X and Y book, like, how you remember that? Like, so one of the teacher approaches says, we have a program, maybe you are interested to do this master, and says, I don't have any degree. Are you kidding me? Like, no. So I went for a week. They test me. We talk with the teachers, and most of the teachers has read articles or book about people that I study with.
Right.
So when I show all my certifications, says, we're going to make an exception. Why? Because you are different. And I went to the master. I put up with, I think I last the longest I ever last, for a year, and I have a meltdown because all my papers, even though when I was 44, all my papers come back failing. And I said, and I get to a point like, who I need to prove what? I do what I do. I am who I am. I'm not going to change. The problem that I have is going to keep there. I choose to do another path. So I write an email to my teacher and says, I need to painfully withdraw from the opportunity you give me. I don't take it personal. It's one of the biggest honors of my life to be accepted to do a master. But maybe when I retire, I plan to retire early so I can do more pro bono and writing books and research. I'm going to go back, and I'm planning to die with my master, but doing for me. I stopped trying to prove things to others. And I realized I was trying to do the master to prove to others, or for others taking me more seriously because I don't have the degree. But I realized I don't have anything to prove to anyone, and not to be cocky. It's because I always confront with people who are the same and like teasing me, try to get me in a study, in one book, and a research done that I haven't read. And now we're going to talk about who need a degree or not. Right. I'm not saying you don't need it. You need to be a doctor. You need to be a psychologist. You need to degree. But I found a way to do what I love and what I want in a different way. It's not that I skip learning. I learn shorter classes, and some of my classes I need to take it. One of my classes I took it 9 times until finally click in my head, but I keep going. And the teacher somewhere like, you again?
Like, so would you say you have gotten to Rome, Susan?
It says, my dad used to says, you always have different ways to get to the same place.
Right. Yeah. So are you there?
No, it's a way to say, it's like, for example, if you want to go to Spain, you can go to Spain in a different way. You can take a plane, a train, swim, bicycle, or walking. Right. So most people would take a plane because it's the easy way to do. I choose to go swimming, which is the most difficult to cross the ocean. It's an analogy about that. When you want something in life, you just need to want to do it. And if you look on the story of people who has developed the most ingenious things lately, besides Einstein, Tesla, who have education, Microsoft, Apple, is people who was rebel, who choose to be swimming to Rome instead to take the regular path. They went on the elite schools, but they have ideas, they have ideals. And again, I don't compare with that people, just saying is,
it's a principle, and so that's the point I was trying to make. So your dad told you, hey, there's more than one way to get to Rome, and you have tried a different path from what we'd call the normal way, and even in the process of failed time and time again. And so it's an instructive insight, I would say, for all of the viewers and listeners. You never stopped. You kept on pushing, and now you're able to be in a place that you can make a significant difference in the lives of others, right?
I always try to help others, and I do, as I told you before, I do as much pro bono as I can, and I talk for free, never charge, to any institution who talk about dyslexia or minorities or disability. Not because
Tell us about
an example.
the work you're doing with minorities kids in Chicago right now.
I'm part of three institutions that I think the few times that I kind of drop a tear was when some of them asked me to give them the diploma, and one of them and the first time I teach says, "We have only one complaint in your classes." I'm like, "Oh shoot, they're
Right.
too short. They want more." So I went from teaching 3 hours on all the class to teaching a complete weekend. They have a complete weekend with me. All the institutions that I work with are people who cannot afford to go to college. They cannot afford to have the normal education. They're coming from low income places that they're considering that because you have born and raised under certain race or certain part of the city, we are going to put you on the numbers that you are not going to do anything with your life. And when I read about this and I read about the people who manage the programs, I knocked the door and says, "Hi, this is who I am. These are my reference. Can I help?" And some of them like, "We cannot pay you." I don't want to pay. I'm going to take my own time and my own money, and I'm going to invest it on developing classes. And I've been doing this for 3 years, and I know my team is going to kill me because I'm putting my foot in my mouth, but are the best students that I have. Some of them, we're still talking, we're still friends. They're still part of the Facebook. We have a private Facebook group, and it's private only to protect the people who openly want to be feeling safe to practice.
Mm-hmm.
And they're part of the Facebook group. And it's funny because I collect skulls, and instead to give me apples as a teacher, they put skulls in my desk. So, and I do it on the weekends. And now that we have this pandemic, I remember two of the people of the institution says, "How are we going to do it?" Like, "We're not stopping. My classes are not stopping. I'm going to do it online." And we have been doing it online, and people participate, and we're not giving up. I'm not giving up. So I told the director, "You're giving up. I'm going to keep doing my classes." Like, hey, it's my pattern in life. And we have been doing the classes online, and the people follow. And that's the things that give me joy at the end of the day. I've been working every weekend, and as I told you, I'm not going to have a weekend free for the next 14 months, but
Yeah.
I feel like
And
a
what
cow.
kind of results are your students getting once they go out into the marketplace?
Some of the students has working in companies like LinkedIn and another names that I cannot name, but they went from living in a room, making less than 35,000 a year to high positions in sales. Basically what they teach people is how to do sales.
Mm-hmm.
And the new concept of sales is completely different. You can learn techniques in sales, but you are natural. But we teach them is human behavior. What I give them is the superpower to know how to talk to the clients based on the client's needs. What are the behavioral words you need to use, how to read your clients, how to read yourself, how to know what are the needs, how to approach them. When is the time when the physically time to make the close call, the call of action. So these are the only groups actually in Chicago in sales teams who have a completely unit on human behavior training. They're all on sales. None of the people in any of these cohorts are unemployed today. All of them have a better job. All of them, and some of them have come back to teach others their experience they already have.
Awesome. Do you find that people are intimidated by you, or they're super cautious when they're around you because they know what you do?
Oh my God, welcome to my life. It's a curse and a bless. The most scary ones are on dating. I haven't found a man who's strong enough who can put up with me. I tried all the like policeman, executive, doctor, lawyer, like in one point, like, no, they're kind of afraid. So yeah, I haven't find, at least in my personal life, a man who's strong enough and intelligent enough or secure of themselves enough to like, okay, I'm not going to feel intimidated. My personal life, oh, my friends love me. You know why? Who's going to read your Tinder profile? Who's going to profile the client you're going to go? So, and by the way, there are my lab rats. When I have a new class, I invite all my friends and say, okay, guys, I need your feedback. Do you think I'm going too far away? You understand the class? And clients happen the same like dating. I says between dating and business, the only difference is the happy hour.
Right.
I use another word personally, so I try to be more soft here.
Yeah.
But in business, some people fight me because they don't want to give up that this exists. You have people who says like, no, this is BS, it's not going to happen. And another ones who swear on the Bible, we want you. And I think that the problem with people is they do not understand how deep this is based on science. Face reading has been around as for 5,000 years. It's used in jury selection. Nobody go to a jury selection with any lawsuit over $500,000. They don't hire somebody like me. Sorry, it's sitting on the back, is giving notes to the lawyer. You don't know about it, but they're sitting, because I've been working in some lawsuit and it says, do you know who's sitting in the back? My nemesis. Are you kidding? Like the other one is have the same person in the back.
Right.
So I know how we need to handle this. It's happened the same in other factors. So is this happening? From all the things that I do, I think face reading is the one who is less promote, because first of all, I think we are 17 people around the world doing what we do. I think 4 or 5 of us are working on the dark side of the training of face reading. I call dark side is because we work with the heavy part of face reading. The other ones do more the oriental part, that is diagnostic, meditation, and I do like consulting, hostage negotiator, and policeman. I did political consulting for a long years. For many years, I was a political consulting, and my work basically was debriefing, like, what do you want to present in X and Y? Like, this is a folder with 50 things about the person you're going to present it. Weakness, strength, pros, con, how to need to approach it, face reading, body language, microexpression, statement analysis. That's how we're 50 pages. I give it all the team, like, now go and prepare your speech. Now you have all the information. I did it. I don't regret it. Money was good. I enjoy it. I miss the adrenaline. I miss terribly the adrenaline. In my work, I'm adrenaline junkie. In my personal life, I'm a domesticated cat. So I live in the forest. I'm an hermit. I'm an introvert. But in my work, I love that adrenaline, that when somebody says, I don't believe what you do, prove me. And I have those 15 minutes where the adrenaline is here. And I have done it on the phone. I have profiled people on the phone. I even describe how their faces are on the phone.
Right.
I did it in person. And I need to give a huge thank you to all the people who allow me to put the call reading on the websites. And none of them has been prepared. All the wow factor is real. And I love that. When people says, I don't believe you, is when like my alter ego ego come up and like, okay, let's do this. And I enjoy it. I really enjoy it so much. So I love my work. Yes. Wrapping up the question, yes, it's people who is scared. Yes, it's people who doesn't want to see me even in a mile away. 3 is people who is a follower. So I didn't find my tribe. I make my own, and I choose my customer before I choose my business. If I need 3 emails to explain you what I do, we are not going to be working together. Why? Because you're going to put the distance that I don't believe. And when you start saying I don't believe, you're never going to incorporate the amazing things that you can utilize this with your kids, your partner, your coworkers, and your clients. So imagine if you can learn why you're fighting with your wife or your husband. The other person is not trying to drive you crazy. We process and we intake information differently. So if I can understand you're not trying to drive me crazy, if I can understand how I need to talk to you to get the message, and again, In Chicago, I can go from where I live into Chicago taking the E90, E94. It's only 3 minutes different. One is tall, less traffic. The other one have more tracks. It's how I choose to go.
Right.
Less noisy or more noisy.
Mm-hmm. Is there a time, Susan, when you're never on? You're in a room with other people, and is there a time when you're never reading or analyzing people?
This weekend, we have the team meeting on Friday, and one of my team says, "You promise me you're not going to do anything this weekend?" Oh, I promise. Sunday noon, I send an email. We have a recap meeting on Monday morning. Like, Susan, you know me. So I develop 4 classes. I read 2 books, and I watch 2 documentaries. And on top of that, I finished my season of Amazing, Marvelous Miss Maisel. So yeah, I never stop. I have books all over the house, and I don't want to stop. For me, it's not a work. For me, it's give me pleasure. Mm-hmm. When I can learn something new, when I can see something that I have been seeing in one way and another way, it's like being diabetics allowed to eat candy. It's like, whoa. I did understood that living in a populated city 24/7 like Chicago was too much for me. I couldn't go out and get a coffee without like eavesdropping somebody's conversation. So I choose to move to the forest, and I keep a place in Chicago. I'm 35 minutes away from Chicago, so it's like commuting to the suburbs. But it was the only way that I don't have external overstimulation, but I do have my internal stimulation. So I've been more productive and calm and better with myself and taking care of myself since I moved here 2 years ago.
Indeed. So you have worked with law enforcement, you have worked with the military, you have worked with private companies doing, negotiations and, work with human resource professionals, headhunters, job seekers, and a whole host of other people. As we find ourselves in the middle of this coronavirus crisis, obviously we're going to get out on the other end sooner or later. How do all these people, or what advice do you have for them? How do they operate? The headhunters versus the HR professional versus the job seekers, or even the matchmakers, people who want to hook up afterwards. What is it? The communication piece? How do they best navigate the world after coronavirus?
As I told you, we have been working as a team because we have an office in Latin America. And it was funny that actually Latin America customers adapt to working online faster and better than the United States. Mm-hmm. We start working and adapting the teams to work from home faster in Latin America. In the United States, some companies still don't know what to do. I don't know why yet. I'm trying to figure out. We're going to have a different life, and the reality is going to be completely different at the end of this rainbow. How it's going to be, not sure. But what I can tell you is 75% of the people who was working in offices, they're not going to go back to work in offices. They're going to be working from home. Mm-hmm. The communication, the tools, and the behaviors you need to take in order to do that, they're going to need to be learned. Again, you're not going to learn how to be a human resource. You're not going to learn how to be a salesperson. But all the thing about technology and 140 character, I always say, I don't speak Tinder, I don't speak Starbucks, and I don't speak Twitter. No. Mm-hmm. I have my own communication. So that I've been telling for years, now we need to come back. In top of that, now everybody's doing video, everybody's exposed. You need to learn how to do it. If I get to face like, hey, how you doing? That is weird. How to start a meeting, when the meeting start, how you need to be camera ready, how you need to be your back. I don't want to see your bedroom. I don't want to see your dirty pajamas in the back. Mm-hmm. That's not professional. So we need to learn all this. Another 2 things that we're going to need to learn is respect the introversion and extroversion of others, reading yours and others. Introverts is how you recoup information, and extroverts is how to recoup it too. has nothing to do with being shy or antisocial. I'm an introvert, but when I'm talking about what I know, Susan
Right.
come up.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing, then we're going to have a webinar because I'm really, really interested to talk to specialists. It's going to be the first time in the history that we're going to have Generation C, X, Boomers, and I never remember.
And the millennials.
I'm sorry. Yeah, C, Millennials, Boomer, and X.
Mm-hmm.
So the C doesn't talk. Millennials either. Now, the other generations, there haven't been bring to technology. So those are the generations who still are on the market. They need to learn, and the new generation need to how to communicate. I don't want to be reading your Twitter to know what you want to say to me. You need to talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
And this generation is going to be your clients. So we're going to need to learn how to behavioral-wise, how to intertwine these generations, how to teach this one to talk, how to teach this to be more patient and learn technology to be functional, how people need to be selling to each other, how to respect personality, and how to read, profile, and scan someone in those 3 seconds that you have to make a first impression. Because you have 3 seconds. Another thing, shaking hands is the same and equal at 3 hours of human interaction. We used to give a class who is an hour and a half practicing shaking hands. And you can say, it's like, what? Yes, because when you're shaking hands, when I see a smile on you, the level of oxytocin go high. Oxytocin is the bond hormone. So if you feel uncomfortable doing video, if you only talk about negative things, my stress hormone goes up, oxytocin go down. We need to revert that. So how is going to be at the end of the rainbow? Not sure in a business plan, but something that I can tell you 100%, who doesn't understand, who doesn't learn the human behavior, and you can study from a book or whatever. I'm not selling my service. What I'm saying is the new reality is going to have to do with more comprehension, more analysis, and more empathy and connection than the product that you're selling. People don't buy when you're selling. People buying you first.
Because I was just thinking about, as you talk about the importance of a handshake, and as we're in this crisis, and I assume that as we get out of it, people won't be shaking hands as much as we did in the past. You know, how do you make that instant connection? How do you get that 3 hours of interaction from a 3-second handshake that won't exist anymore?
Body, emotional empathy. Then emotional empathy doesn't mean that I cry with you. I'm not an empath. I'm a fixer. So if you start crying, probably you're going to call someone and says, I don't know what to do with this. This person is crying.
Right.
What I should supposed to do. I'm not that kind of person. I'm a fixer. I jump in fixing mode. But I do have the empathy, like, I don't know what to do when you're crying. I think the best person for you is going to be when you go into the depressed mode, go and talk to X and Y who is better on empath. But when you're ready to fix things, when you're ready to move to the next step, talk to me. So that is a kind of empathy. So I'm a cognitive empath. I'm going through what is happening in your brain. When you stop going through the emotion and you need to start going to the brain, that's what I'm fixing. So I put it out there. So I jump on helping. I'm jumping, having a smile. Your body attitude, how open you show. It says, hi, Devon, it's a pleasure to be with you. Do you think it's a pleasure to be?
I'm really digging this interview as well.
So you see, like, hey, how you doing? It's a pleasure to be here. Yeah. It's like putting bamboo stick under my nail. But if I have an open act, hey, Devon, how you doing? We talked before. We talked last week about knowing each other. We establish a rapport. We talk about personal things, and we get that handshake done. And like, how long was the conversation? We did the same before we started the meeting, is asking questions. Don't ask me how is the weather here. We talk about like deeper things. We talk about, we don't need to tell what we talk about,
Mm-hmm.
but we talk deeper things, things that we find in common, things good and bad that we find in common. So when we have the we factor, when we can relate to others, and you always, I learned this from Lena Cisco. She was an interrogator in Guantanamo. If I'm not mistaken, she was the only woman interrogated in Guantanamo, and she was one of the most successful interrogators, and she never had any complaint about using force. She says you can get more from a person from a spoon of sugar than a punch in the face.
Mm-hmm.
And she says when she started training in her book and the tech talk, it says, I need to find a common denominator with these people. And most people would say, why you can I find a common denominator with people who it's Al-Qaeda or terrorists? Well, we both stuck in Guantanamo, we both like tea, and we both need to talk. So those are my common denominators.
That's the start.
And she's a 5'4", acrylic nails. She looked like Jennifer Aniston. You look at her and she's never going to figure out that she's a badass woman. But you know what? She found common denominators and says, if I can talk, and she was an archaeologist. She was digging mummies.
So that's a really interesting point you brought up, because why, if all of these people, Guantanamo Bay are trained, why did some of them feel the need to use force as compared to her, who just, we were stuck at Guantanamo Bay, we like tea and we like to talk. Let's have a discussion.
Most people think that when they see Law and Order, like, oh, book a demo, like, yeah, dude. I think it's a lack of understanding. We have a lot of false confession because sometimes people take the shortcut. Making someone talk, having the patience and having the knowledge. The best hostile negotiators that I met, read about or study about it, they're talking about present listen, like behavioral listen. Really listen what the other person needs to say. Mm-hmm. If you want to take a shortcut because you need to close the case, it's not going to happen, because it's going to come back to you. It's going to come back to you because somebody pick it up, because somebody's going to put a complaint. 20 years later, DNA is going to prove it's wrong. Mm-hmm. So I think it's lack of training. I think the biggest problem that we have when we have those factors is lack of training.
So, this, if I could, and that's really difficult to do, but encapsulate, what you do and what we have discussed, it comes down to this business of communication and connection. So if you could give our audience or listening and viewing audience, one nugget that they could apply to their lives now, what would that be?
You have 2 ears and a mouth for a reason. Exercise it.
Fair enough. So listen twice as much as you speak.
And remember, do not compete with others and how bad you're doing. Because if you have a pimple on your face, hurt as much as the cancer of the person in front of you. If you are playing golf, or your kid is going to Harvard and the person in front of you going to Harvard too, don't compete to see whose kid is more intelligent. It's not about that. Empathy is not like, me too is not, oh, I'm playing golf better than you play. Like, no, don't be cocky. So we have different realities. I have friends that we are complaining about not having a haircut. Why? Because I don't have anybody in my near circle who have died or had been so sick than haven't recovered. Thank God all the people that I care and I know they'll recover. But other people you talk is not having the same reality. Mm-hmm. So you need to have a reality check before, during, and after that. Listen to what people need. Everybody say what they need. You don't want to listen because people listen to reply, not to understand. Mm-hmm. And everybody that you know is an expert in something that you are not. So the day you think that you have known everything and you have nothing to learn, I will make myself an favor. Go to the top of the mountain and live like an hermit because you don't deserve to be in a society.
Really good points. You know, you're absolutely right. Some of us are oftentimes when we're in a conversation and we ask a question, we're not necessarily waiting on an answer. We're waiting on the other person to shut up so we can talk again. And I think, you know, just if we're able to apply those principles, those ideas that you just shared, we'll be in such a much better world. Because there's this lack of empathy. You're absolutely right. So many people who during this crisis haven't lost someone, and so they can't understand the pain that other people are feeling, and that's probably why I saw just maybe this morning, I can't remember now, or last night, you know, people demonstrating they want the lockdown to end, and they're calling it a hoax. And I'm thinking, if you lost someone during this crisis, you would not call it a hoax. I've lost people that I know. I've lost one of my teammates from the original team to this virus. So I know that it's real. Absolutely. Um, so you do have an amazing superpower, Susan. You know, you can read people, but you still have a business that you have to run. And I'm willing to bet, if I was a betting man, that you're not immune from the market forces. So how are you managing your business during this time, and what advice do you have for others to do the same?
It's funny because everybody's launching e-learning platforms, and we have been working in one for 6 months. Then what happened is initially it was a bit, the idea was the me giving classes, and I decided to make something as a community, because I think you can go faster by yourself, but you can go deeper with a community.
Mm-hmm.
So we launched the first e-learning platform specialized in human behavior. Is invitation coaches only. So you're not going to find somebody painting furniture and teaching you how to cook. Like, no, we're talking about former Tony Robbins CEO, MI6 interrogator, hostage negotiators, human behavior, body language for women, body language for leadership, like high core trainers and people that I have known for 20 years. So we launched the company, and we are not crazy like, oh, we have 20 coaches and we have 240 classes planned until the end of the year. I'm not going to be running because other people is running to go online. We're going to do it right, because
Mm-hmm.
this was planned with time. So this is going to end. Most of the e-learning companies are going to drop because they don't have content. So between rushing and content, be careful how you rush, because people at the end want content. If you don't give people what they need, that is different than people what they think they want, they're going to drop you. There are companies who are disappearing, and companies who are adapting, and companies who are doing better. I'm not an expert business person, but I do know I am an expert in behavioral. More people is learning new things. The concept of learning something new is give you a future perspective, because if I'm learning something new, meaning that I'm going to have the chance to apply it. If a company training you in something new today, as an employee, you have the perception and have the strength that the company is backing me up. The company is giving me new tools. So most of the company that I've been working, we work in body language for video, how to use technology, behavioral questions, how to do a better customer service, better sales. And the companies who have been training their people are going in this curve. When they're in the beginning with going down until they like going up.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because your first customer is your employee. So invest in your employee, invest in your people. Firing everyone doesn't mean that your company is going to be working better. As a person, I know couples who start learning things together, and now they have something else to talk beside. The kids are driving me crazy and I cannot see you because I've been with you 24/7 for 2 months.
Right.
So learning, practicing, making people feel safe. And after 9/11 and after the crisis in 2008, The companies who grow faster, stronger, and today they're still on the market were the ones who have leaders and managers who instead to get on this circle like, oh my God, what is going on? Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. It's like, this is going to be the next step that we're going to do. That's the plan we're going to do. Okay, you want to keep working from home? You're going to keep working from home. Keep going, thinking about the future. Let people vent, but not get on the circle that everything is negative. Let people look on the future. Because if you don't have a future, if you don't have things in your calendar to go for it, why are you going to get up on the bed today or tomorrow?
Indeed. Mm-hmm. You're absolutely right. You know, learning, growing, applying, and it gives you, as you said, a future perspective, which is really what Keep On Pushing is all about. You know, we could easily go on for, you know, hours and hours here, Susan, but maybe we're going to have a part 2 and a part 3 and keep the conversation going, because I find it fascinating. I know that our listeners will as well. So thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to share your experiences and your wisdom. This is definitely something that is relevant and needed during this time. So thanks again for turning up on Keep On Pushing.
Devon, thank you very much. And I would really appreciate if you want to do another segment to take people questions. The idea is to help. We are in the helping mood. We're planting the seed. So if somebody have any special questions or want to contact, or you want to do another section with question of people or real problems that we can help behavioral wise, it's going to be my pleasure.
Awesome. But before we close, please tell us, because you mentioned your e-learning platform. I know you do keynote speaking and you have all these amazing trainers and coaches. So how does someone find you?
We have 2 companies. Humanbehaviorlab.com is the consulting company who does tailored training, and we have the basic trainings we give, and we have tailored boutique training. And Human Behavior Hacker School, and the reason the name is so long is because since I'm a human behavior, people want to learn that. We went through a lot of names and everybody choose that, so we went from that. Humanbehaviorhackerschool.com. We launch new classes every Friday at noon. So the next most exciting classes are going to be face reading. We have 9 levels, 5 basics and 4 that are communication, sales, dating. Don't ask me. People ask for dating. Even in LinkedIn. And the other one is professional relationships. So we every Friday you're going to have 4 or 5 coaches launching new classes and new topic, and we're never going to end. We're going to keep adding.
Nice. Awesome. So tell us those websites again, Susan, before we close out.
Humanbehaviorlab.com and Human Behavior Hacker School. Both websites are intertwined. If it's not, Google my name, look for me on LinkedIn. It's going to be a pleasure to connect. No, don't spare to put click and not hear from me. I'm going to reply to you. So if you want to click, be ready to make a real communication with. That's what I do for a living and what I do in my real life.
Awesome. Awesome. So awesome to connect with you. Yes. You know, thank you for that invitation to do another segment, perhaps with live questions. We're definitely going to look into that. So until we connect next time, you know, I want to encourage you and, of course, our audience to keep on pushing. Again, thanks for coming on.